Okay, we're going to run through the answers for the Wireshark extra credit. There was one part that I was not real. I guess I asked a little bit of the wrong question, and but it's weird that most of the people got the right answer, and the people that got the wrong answer, it wasn't really the answer to the question that I asked. I'll explain that when we get there. So it started out, we go to, and actually, I tried to make this a lot easier because there were like 7,000 frames on this capture, and really you would have the packet capture and probably take that capture and play it through Snort, and have Snort look for signatures and give you information to where to start actually looking the packet capture to do the analysis. But this course didn't cover anything like that, so I just pulled some of the Snort out and gave that as the starting point. And so, but Snort also kind of misled you in the nomenclature it uses, but anyway, so we started with this, but first let's look at some of the basic questions, which you didn't really even need this information to figure out. So what we have here, here's our packet capture, and like I said, there is, you've seen it. There's 7,000 frames, huge amount of information here. The first question I asked was how many IPv4 endpoints are in this. So we go to statistic, endpoints, and IPv4, and we see that we have 46 IPv4 endpoints, and that is the answer to the first question. So that's pretty straightforward. That was handled or covered in one of the videos I did on Wireshark, if you didn't know how to do that. Second question, and this is the weird one, is how many IPv4 conversations are in this capture? And if we go to conversations under statistics, and what I wanted to say, except I didn't type it, was how many TCP conversations were there? 137, and a lot of people got it right, even though I asked the wrong question, which is sort of weird. The actual IPv4 conversations is 45. The people who did not get it right, nobody answered 45. So nobody answered the question that I asked correctly, but they answered the question that I wanted to ask correctly. So don't really know what that means, but there you go. So it says colorize the first two TCP conversations and place the screenshot below. I covered this in the video also. You will go up here and we'll right click and we'll say colorize conversation. And I said colorize the TCP conversations, so we'll give this one color 1. And so now those turned the salmon color. Well, here's one that's not salmon color, so let's right click on that and say colorize, and oh, TCP is not highlighted. Well, that's because it's DNS. In this query, it's not a TCP DNS query, it's a UDP DNS query. So that one was not was not a conversation. So we'll go down a little bit farther, and here we're back to the normal green. So if we right click on that, colorize conversation, oh, there's TCP, and we pick color 2, and there are the first two conversations colorized. So so that was the answer to number 3. Pretty simple. So number 4, there are probably complicated ways of going about this, but just due to the nature of this capture, really all you really need to do here, and this will get you. You might try this and end up going down the wrong road, in the real life, but it's a real fast way to start. And basically, let's look at the conversations here, and we have a variety of addresses here, but we got one address that is showing up predominantly here. And so my first guess would always be that that this is probably the host that is involved. 137.62 is probably the host that is involved in the exploit. So one thing that sometimes makes it a little easier is if we go to View and Name Resolution and Resolve Network Addresses, uh, as we go through and look at these, we see, so here's 160, or here's 62, um, and it's also a 192, 168. So it's, but the entity on the other side of the conversation is resolving to DNS, and so chances are that is like out in the big world, and the other one is the host being exploited. So anyway, so 62 is 130 or 137.62 is the one that is being exploited. Next one is easy. What was the MAC address, right? So we just have to go here, and we see that the MAC address is this one that ends in Fox Easy Dog 7. And so we've just answered question number 5. So we're halfway through. Fairly simple stuff, and so you're at 10 points at that point. So now it gets a little more complicated. How did you find the HTTP stream that allowed you to find the attack? Well, so let's go back here, and the address that we see showing up here is 192.99.198.158. So if we apply an address, so remember we can go over here and build it, but we all know how this works, so we can save some time. So ip.adder equals and it brought up the last query I did, and which was a good query, which is why it was green. But once I erase that, we now say Wireshark says it needs more information. So 192.99.198.158 and enter. And so now we have the address that Snort identified as the problem. So so let's go to the top here. Let's see if we can start figuring out, because we still have we got a fair number of frames here. Not a huge number, but a fair number. So let's go here and say follow. Well, our only choice is TCP stream. And so we're going to look at this here. And actually, there's a hint in here as far as what's really going on, but we're going to get to that another way. And we go through here and kind of scroll through here. I'm going to scroll through quickly because I've already scrolled through. There's a couple of two transactions that happen here, but it obviously is some sort of a binary file, and nothing here that's. But we're looking at the TCP conversation. So if you remember, here it said it was 158 port 80. Okay, so we all know what port 80 is. That's HTTP, and we come down here and we go, oh, here's an HTTP frame. And we'll right click and we say follow, and now we have a new thing to follow, and that's a HTTP stream. We do that and things suddenly look a lot more like there's a lot more clues in here. We saw the headers here like we did before, but now we see ASCII text. Of news to her child, but the plan of the quarter of a parent, Eleanor, so it's like, well, if you remember in the video that I did where we looked, actually we didn't find English back then. We found a golly, it was a Czechoslovakian. I don't even remember anymore, but we found a phrase and looked it up and kind of started figuring out what was going on there. So let's just start here, right? And we copy it, and We will go to Google and paste in search. And let's see, financially independent from parents, top of the class, abuse in children. That's definitely not it. Moving, buying better, parents pay bills, fewer babies, cost of raising a child $245,000. ADHD. You spend $245,000 to raise them, and then they have ADHD. So anyway, we're not. Yeah, this doesn't look real hacky here. So yeah, let's grab some more. Let's grab this much and just see. So this is interesting. Sense and sensibility. I'll bet if we grabbed even more of it, yeah, that's pretty much what we see, a sense and sensibility. So we have a frame that is going to an infected host or associated with an infected host that has got quotes from Sense and Sensibility, and kind of go, you kind of go, what's going on here? And so let's try the easiest thing. Sense and Sensibility exploits. Um, not seeing anything here. Okay, how about Sense and Sensibility? Exploit kit. Okay, Angler exploit kit. And this was the problem. I didn't want to snip the uh, snort too much. I mean, it tells you right here, which is why the question that I ask you is, except for it saying angler here, how did you figure this out? And so if you just copied it off of the top there, you're probably not going to get credit for it. So anyway, so here we talk about, uh, that um, and we talk about using sense and sensibility. That's one of the one of the things that can act as a trigger. But as far as looking for the signature, this is what we're looking at, right? July 2039 or 2040, and so if we go to this frame here, and we're gonna look at this, and down here it says this is frame 2775, and we look at the frame, and here we have July 2040, and that is really the confirmation that that we have the Angler exploit kit, and so when it asks, there are multiple frames that have that signature on. So I think there's 4 of them. So anyway, any of those 4 would have been the right answer. So the other thing here is, and I guess I maybe should go back because it was a little, I don't know, snort was a little misleading here, and I guess this becomes semantics and splitting hair. But it says multiple exploit kit, Silverlight exploit, and actually Silverlight is the exploit. Angler is the exploit kit. Silverlight is the thing that is exploiting the vulnerability. And if you look, if you read this, they said actually it was against a 0-day against golly, what was it? It was a video program, but oh, Flash, yeah, there's a Flash player. Um, so the vulnerability was exploited by the Angler exploit kit, and it did it through Silverlight. So Silverlight was not really the exploit kit. Um, so if I'm going to see if I can find where you could positively have identified Silverlight as um, the as far as the evidence. But yeah, and I kind of the potential exploit, and I didn't say the potential exploit kit here, and then I asked for the exploit kit. So these are two separate things. But anyway, I guess I can see if I can find a definitive Silverlight frame in there, and if you identified that frame. If you said, a couple people said Silverlight, if you identified Silverlight and you identified the frame where Silverlight was actually evident, then I'll take that as an answer. If you just went up here and read Silverlight and said, and hell, that must be it. Sorry, because we're the whole point is to use Wireshark here. So anyway, I guess that's it. This probably took longer than it should, but any questions? Send me an email. Everybody did. People did really good, actually. And people tried. Some people did a huge amount of research. I think one or two people got every question and really figured out what was going on. So yeah, I was pretty impressed. So anyway, that's it.